heavy duty right now. Okay, so here we are. This is our lecture for Design 330. It's Thursday the 8th. I've got the recording on. And so we're going to go through a few things. I'm going to go through the plumbing information, the plumbing sheet, and then we'll talk a little bit more again about the walkthrough and how to get that done. So here we go. Let me find. See, it takes me a while to get to when I was just on a meet with another student, so going over a cool project.
I can't see anything.
Oh, you're not able to see that?
No.
I have my presentation as showing. I'll get out of it again and stop, and I'll start it up again. Okay, it says I'm sharing, and I see it on mine.
Yeah, I see.
Okay, there we go. And so I'm going to get into our environmental building. And we're going to look at the plumbing load. So there is some information on plumbing for us to review. And so there's cold water supply, hot water supply, and sanitary drain. And I made some videos on this, so I'm not going to really go over it deep, but I'm going to show you what we've got. And you should know that lavatory is where you wash your hands. That's from the French for wash. So, and there's cold water and hot water. But our hot water is what's called point of use. It's one of those little things that's under the sink that turns your cold water hot. So we're going to use our cold water as the same as our hot water. So you'll double it up. Water closet, that's a name for a toilet. A hose bib, that's where you just put a hose in there. A sink. Equipment, so that's where you can just add stuff up, what you think it's going to be, the parts washer. And a fixture unit, that's what really takes some understanding. A fixture unit is how much water comes out of a fixture. These are all called fixtures. When you open it up all the way, its intended operating pressure. Well, there's a real interesting thing because, in a hose, if you have high pressure and open the hose all the way up, more water comes out than if it's at low water pressure. If I've got 80 psi in my hose, a lot of water comes out. And if I have 5 psi in my hose, it just dribbles out. Okay, so it's complicated. So what these manufacturers do is they've all settled on a pressure that's called standard, a standard pressure. And that standard pressure is 22.5 psi unless there's some special situation. So they think that there's 22.5 psi in your building at that point. So at your sink, when it's closed off, if you put a pressure gauge on it, it would say 22.5, and then you open it up all the way and some amount of water comes out. And that water is measured in GPM, and that's a fixture unit. Okay, so if 5 gallons per minute comes out of the hose when it's at 22.5 psi, you'd have 5 fixture units. Now, a lot of places derate those, but we're not going to. We're going to say that we're going to use our full fixture units. Also, these things have different pressures depending where they are in the line. We're going to pretend that they're all grouped together at the farthest away point in the building from where the water gets in the building. So if the building looks like that and my water comes in there, I'm going to pretend all of my fixtures are down at this end and that the water has to go all the way along this wall and all the way along that wall. I'm pretending that because that's the worst possible thing for my design. And I want my design to be able to handle the worst possible thing. And then when somebody puts some stuff here or here or here or here, or spreads it all out, I know that my design will be able to handle it. Okay. So I'm going to add up all the fixture units. Now, I also know that sometimes only one or two things are on at once, and I'm not going to draw all of my fixture units at once. Okay. And that's easier on my design too. But I'm again going to pretend my worst case can happen. And that is that all of the fixtures turn on at once and they're all at one spot. Now, I'm going to tell you why we do that. I worked for a valve company and we made valves that actually controlled the pressure in these lines. We got a call from a client that said, you got water hammer, it keeps banging and it broke and there's a problem with your valve. And so it turns out that this was a prison in Tennessee. It was a medium security prison. Um, and they couldn't figure out what was going on. So it turns out that they had what they called water hammer, where too much stuff turns on and off at once. Well, in this prison, the prisoners had figured out that if everybody flushed their toilet at exactly the same time, it would break the system and they'd have to let them out while they fixed it. And let them out means that they would go out into the yard instead of be in their cells. So they kept doing that. So they sent me to the prison to figure out how to stop that from happening. And it was the worst experience of my life to go to this prison. Stay out of prison. This was a medium security penitentiary in Tennessee, and it was ghastly. I can tell you stories about it. But it is possible for everything to be turned on at once. Another case is the Super Bowl. During halftime of the Super Bowl, apartment buildings, they found that everybody flushes the toilet at once during halftime because that's when everybody gets up and goes off and does their stuff. So it's possible. So our goal is all fixture units, all turned on at once, as far away as we can conceive. So that's this part. Then we want to figure out, okay, if I've got 100 foot or 60 foot or 50 foot, I've got to figure that out for my building. What's the worst possible thing that I could think of? And if I've got 100 feet here, how much pressure will I lose just from flow in my pipe? That's called friction loss. You lose pressure, and it can be substantial. This is how it can be substantial. If I've got 1 inch pipe, I can lose, if I'm doing just 16 gallons a minute, and we're going to do more than that for sure, I'll lose 0.078 per foot. So I'd lose 7.8 feet PSI in a 100-foot run. Well, that's important. I may not have enough pressure then to run my facility. So I have to figure out how much pressure loss I've got in my total pipe run when everything is working. So that's the essence of cold water supply. Now, there's one other thing that we just have to note, that if I use a toilet that has a flushometer on it, that's like you go into a bathroom at ARC or any commercial place, and it's got the handle and it goes, and it's got, you can tell it all flushes at once. Instead of like in your home where you flush the toilet and it swirls around and it slowly swirls around and then it takes a long time to fill up. Okay. Those don't have a lot of pressure loss. But these water closets with flushometers cause an immediate 15 psi drop in your lines. And you have to be prepared for that. Okay. So we're going to write that down. So that's where all of this is from. Okay. After that, hot water supply, we're not worrying about it. Nothing to worry about at all. Zero. You can just say, we're not doing it. Sanitary drain. Oh, I left these on here. You're going to look at the fixture units for the drain, how many you've got, and you'll do your total fixture units again. And then you're going to look at this number and you're going to find out that picking the main drain size. So again, the way this works is if I've got a building, I got to have a big drain line that everything else hooks into. So I'm going to have through there some sort of a main drain line. I don't know why that didn't work. Why did that not work? Here we go. I'm going to have some sort of a main drain line go through it, and then other drains are going to go hook into it. And that big drain line has to be big enough to take everything that drains out. And so those are set for you. I'm going to get rid of those because you have to go look them up. Why I left that on there last night. And that's for them a drain pipe capacity. And it depends on your slope. So I'm going to let you fix a certain range. We always slope between 2 and 9 feet for every 100 feet that we run. In your design, you'll be able to pick other ones too. But this is just going to give us some information. Okay. So there we go. That is how we're going to use this. So you'll go and you'll fill this stuff in and you'll put it into the stuff. Do you have any questions on that? Cool. Well, there we go. So do you have to leave soon now, Hassan? Or do you have a little bit longer? Okay. So I'm going to actually stop the recording right now. And actually, I'll do just a minute more of recording. So I'm going to just make a comment on this one. So I see that Jan and Andrea, Alex, went through here and they gave a nice presentation here. But what I'm hoping to see is an actual video of you doing a walkthrough like what I did. So I'm going to try to do one really quick right now. I'm going to find the walkthrough. Where is my, now I have to go find that. Did I not put the walkthrough in there? Didn't I put a link to the walkthrough in here? That's a problem if I didn't do that. Okay, I see I'm going to have to put a link to the walkthrough in because I'm not seeing it on here. There's a link to that video. Oh my gosh. I guess I need to put a link to the walkthrough. All right. So I'll do that and I'll let you guys get a little bit more done. All right. Any last questions? Then that's it for our lecture today.